I just want to return briefly to what I was saying a few minutes ago about cognitive dissonance and how these fairly informal experiments I've been doing with theistic practice have produced, you know, at least the glimmerings of some kind of cognitive, well, the glimmerings of some attitudinal and possibly even behavioural changes I've noticed in myself, which I'm putting down to a kind of cognitive dissonance, because I'm simultaneously holding, or simultaneously acting out on behaviour which is atheistic, and with one part of my life, if you like, and at other times of my life I'm behaving theistically, or using language which is theistic, or has that kind of overtone. And so what I'm saying is that possibly the changes in my experience are produced by this cognitive dissonance. So I'm just thinking about what, you know, how I can think about that really. What kind of models I can bring to the table of my own consciousness in order to be able to flesh that thought out a bit. And I stress this is not, I'm not making any fact claims or truth claims here, it's just what I'm thinking about. And what I'm thinking about is, you know, are there other experiences I'm having in which I can simultaneously hold differences in mind, and do those, and under what circumstances do those differences produce some other kind of experience, produce some other kind of knowledge, produce some other kind of emotional state, whatever it may be. So that difference produces that. And there's a couple of examples I've got in mind here, which, I don't know, maybe I'll be able to find a way to map onto this idea of cognitive dissonance, or maybe not. One is one that I've spoken about before. Oh, there's a dog coming now. Come on, Pops, let's go this way for a bit. One is one I've spoken about before, which is to do with visual perception, and the fact that if I look at two different images, one with my right eye and one with my left eye, and if those two images are different in just the right way, as they are right now as I'm looking out into the world, then some new information emerges, and that's called depth perception. Depth perception isn't either in my right eye, the image on my right eye, or my left eye. It comes out of the difference. So there's something interesting about that for me, I think. Also within the kind of visual register, or perhaps less interesting, is or something like impressionist painting, I suppose I'm thinking of here. Seurat paintings or Monet. If you look at them close up, they're dots of pure colour. That's a Pointillist painting method, particularly. If you look at them and they're dots of red and dots of yellow and so on. But of course, if you stand back, you don't see dots of red and dots of yellow. Your experience is orange. So again, I think what I'm looking at there is an example of when, you know, completely concrete embodied experience, or two simultaneously embodied experiences, in that case at the level of the retina, are presented, but some other kind of information is generated, some other kind of experience is generated. And in the case of a painting, some other kind of emotional state even may be generated, given that, you know, these things do have an effect. Other examples I'm thinking of is sound. Two notes, two pure notes presented together. If they're different again in just the right way, they come across as a chord, and a chord is not the same as either note, it's produced elsewhere. And again, it could absolutely have emotional value. Even discordant chords, or possibly even particularly discordant chords, have a very particular kind of, generate a particular set of responses. So again, it's about difference, and about how the difference becomes represented in its own right. And the last one, I think I got this from Gregory Bateson actually. I think it's in an essay in Mind and Nature, which I haven't read for years, so I may be wrong in that reference. But he talks about moire patterns. And moire patterns are grids of parallel lines, when there are two grids of parallel lines, but they're oriented at slightly different angles. And if that difference is just right, then a moire pattern emerges. It's a particularly beautiful moire pattern actually on the bridge above Strenchem Services in the M5 motorway. which I always enjoy driving under. But again, a moire pattern is the result of a kind of news of difference. It's additional information coming out of that difference, coming out of the dissonance in a sense. So I suppose what I'm thinking of here is, in terms of where I started from, which is to do with this apparently contradictory set of practices, observances, styles of discourse, vocabulary, language use, all those kind of things. One of which, as I've spoken about before, I'm choosing to adopt from religious and theistic practice, and the other which I feel is more normative to me at least, but who knows, which is more atheist, perhaps rational. I can kind of imagine that these two sets of discourses acting like the grid lines in Bateson's essay, kind of overlapping one another, and the moire pattern of my current behaviour and current attitudes kind of at least partially emerging out of that moire pattern, or emerging as the colour orange off a Surat painting, or emerging as that particular chord in that particular piece of music, or having some of the ontological status of the depth that I'm looking into now, caused by the differences between what my right eye and my left eye are seeing. Perhaps that's why the thing in the Bible about if my eye offend you, pluck it out. I think elsewhere there's a quotation from Jesus in the Bible. Actually, I didn't think I was going to go there, but elsewhere in the Bible, Jesus says something about you must be. Oh God, what did he say? Something to do with unless your eye is single, you will never see God, or something like that. It's that kind of a phrase about one's eye being single. I'm not suggesting for one moment, of course, that he was talking about depth perception or anything like the way I'm talking about it. But if I was going to, I would probably wield that as an interesting quotation, as a line in. If you want to be a theist, or possibly a thoroughgoing atheist, you have to close one eye and not see the sacred depths of nature.